Hey everyone, Christian here. I'm going to do a palm review right here in my front yard with the grass unmowed, not mowed. This is going to be Mauritiella aculeata. It has a common name in Portuguese, but I don't have it on hand right now. I probably couldn't pronounce it anyway. I don't have very good Portuguese pronunciation. But this is native to the Amazon region, notably the Rio Negro River in northern Brazil, southern Venezuela. It goes into Peru, Ecuador, and Bolivia, and I believe Suriname. And so this is a family. This is part of a family of uh, Amazonian fan palms, which include Mauritiella armata, which is a much more armed version of this palm, and Mauritia flexuosa, which is a common palm grown throughout Brazil. And one of the coolest parts of this palm, which I can show, are actually its fruits. It has a kind of like a fish scale, like seed to it. I'm sorry, like fruit to it, and they're quite interesting. In fact, they will boil the fruits and the seeds and use this reduction as sort of like a ointment or a lotion for like sprains and other bruises. And apparently, it works well for the native people in the area. So the Rio Negro is a tributary of the Amazon. It goes north from right in the area of Manus, which is the largest town in the Amazonas region of Brazil. And they call it the Rio Negro because it's very dark. It has a lot of like dark silt to it, I think from like mangroves and that sort of thing. So you'll see a lot of rivers and other bodies of water that are black because of mangroves. That's something I forget about, what it is about the mangroves that cause that darkness. But anyway, that's where it's from, right there, and it's concentrated around the Rio Negro. So this palm, you would think, okay, it grows in the Amazon lowland tropical rainforest. What is it doing in full sun here in tropical savanna here in Southwest Florida? And so the answer is I just wanted to try it out. It is I first started trying out Mauritia flexuosa. It seemed to do pretty well. Unfortunately, one of them died because it just wanted a little more water, and it got weed whacked by someone other than myself. And so there was one over here, but it's now dead. Anyway, this one, which is doing very well, loves water. You can see here it actually clumps a little bit. When it gets a little larger, I planted this as a 1 gallon a couple years ago. It should be larger, but it needs even more water than I'm giving it. And it's competing with the grass. Here it swamps out in the summertime, but it is starting to gain some momentum. I have been giving it more water regularly. And yeah, you can see right here, there's clumps here and clumps on the other side as well. Sorry about that. And it's been taking full sun pretty well too. I don't have any shade for it, but these grow kind of in the floodplain area. So these will grow kind of on the edge of the rivers. And when the water recedes, these are actually pretty dry areas. That's why I figured they would be okay with this kind of setup where it would be seasonally flooded. And this, when I get a heavy rain, water can come all the way up to the sidewalk and actually over the sidewalk in very heavy rains. But one of the best parts about this is the silvery underside. These leaves are very waxy. And the better part about this palm, as opposed to Mauritiella armata, is that it really isn't, it doesn't have any arming on it. It has a few spines, as you can see right there, but they're not going to stab you. I can actually kind of like push it apart. I mean, it has a little bit of stiffness about it, but it's not too bad. And the overall, when these get bigger, these leaves kind of have this kind of like wispiness that they throw themselves kind of everywhere, but they're very flexible, very good. And this went through Hurricane Irma, no problem. And I have a feeling that these are actually pretty hurricane resistant, even though they don't come from a hurricane prone area. So from my experience, this went through like 33 degrees uncovered. I don't remember there being frost, but still, that's a pretty cold temperature for this area, and it didn't show really any damage. It might have yellowed a little bit like this older frond, but this newly emerging frond is kind of cool that each little frond, each little segment kind of opens separately, and kind of has this, let me bring this apart so you can see this here, but see how waxy and silvery blue that is. It's quite nice looking for a palmate palm. This is one of my favorites. People ask me a lot what one of my favorite palms are. I like to separate it into palmate and pinnate palms, and this is one of my more coveted palmate palms. It's just quite a curious plant. When they get larger, they just kind of have this I don't know. They just have a lot of character about them, and they're weird, and that's why I like palms that are weird, ones that stand out from the crowd. You know what I mean? So, and you can see the clumps kind of have it. They'll kind of grow up with the main plant, and you can cut them off if you'd like, but I think they actually add to it. If you give this a lot of water and a lot of sun, a lot of fertilizer, they'll just grow as fast as you would like for them to grow, essentially. So I've just been giving this one water, haven't been fertilizing it because it has to compete with this grass here, and I just don't really want to have to trim more grass, and so hopefully over time it'll grow up. I have a friend of mine in Sarasota who actually has a specimen of this at his old house, and that's got to be maybe 8 feet tall, and it's gone through some cold snaps. It did burn in a freeze, but it survived. These seem to be pretty hardy to, or stem hardy, meaning that the foliage will burn, but the spear will come back. So with that in mind, I would say this is like a zone 10 palm. I wouldn't say it's like solid zone 10, like it to be 10B to really have this grow. It seems people are these are doing pretty well in most, low zone 10 areas like Sarasota, here in Cape Coral, Fort Myers. This is kind of a mid zone 10. And I've seen this actually growing in Orlando. It's kind of a little bit of an experiment, but it's doing all right. So, like I said, the fruits are going to be, they're going to have that scaly fleshiness about it. They're kind of neat. They're almost like a little ornament if you want to keep a couple, just kind of as a conversation piece. But you would want to clean the fruit if you get it fresh. And the seed is going to have this weird kind of odd round shape. It's not round. It's kind of like, looks like a ball that's kind of been hammered in different areas. It's kind of flattened in a couple sides. And give it a moist, hot environment. You can have poorly draining soil because these do grow in swampy areas, and make sure they don't dry out. They seem to like to germinate when it is wet during the wet season. So, but yeah, so they're a low zone 10. Want a lot of water, but they also have a lot of color. The silvery underside for one, and this weird waxy, kind of almost crown. It's almost crown shafted, in the sense that it looks like it has a crown shaft at the base there. It doesn't look like a palm with a bunch of nasty, not nasty, but just untidy petiole bases hanging around. So anyway, that's about it for Mauritiella aculeata. If you have any more questions about it, go ahead and leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, and you will see many more palm reviews like this. And I'll see everyone next time.